Hi there, Cindy Dole, and you're in for a real treat, a special behind-the-scenes look at what goes into the making of the Rose Parade floats. Now, on Home Wizards, I'm all about ways to help you make the spaces you call home more meaningful and more fun, right? And it may mean being more creative with what you've got, or going green, or finding some solutions, but it's all those things and those attitudes and more that are really the makings of the Rose Parade floats each and every year. And behind each of them is this great story. And all of us, while we have our favorite memories and ways to experience them, like for me, it was with my dad on a piece of wood that sat over two ladders on Colorado Boulevard as a little girl, or later camping out just not far from the Wrigley Mansion on Orange Grove when I was in high school, and then later in college marching in the parade. But just about to everyone, you say, when you see the floats in person up close, you understand all that goes into it. That is really when you appreciate the magic, the genius, the labor of love. What materials do they use? What's off limits? How do they come up with these designs? And when does it all begin? And what makes a great float? While these works of art are seen all over the world by millions, just for 30 seconds or so, there's so much more to these, what I like to call virtual gardens on wheels, that are weighing tons and tons, vibrant colors and flowers from all over. I'm going to share with you for the next 2 hours, all of it, every inch, how it's covered with all the natural materials, and wait till you hear what kind of things they can use to create the look of skin, or eyelashes, or fur on an animal that's depicted on a float. Well, this past week I spent quite a bit of time with several of the float designers and creators and the volunteers who love this process so much they keep coming back year after year after year, and they devote hundreds of hours all year long. And some are created by communities that have local fundraisers. That's all they've got to support the effort. Others are designed by professional float design and build companies that get paid some really big bucks to help corporations tell their story and their message, and to see this as part of their advertising strategy. Well, first off, I want to tell you how this all comes together. It's so interesting. It never gets old. Just ask the people who eat, sleep, and breathe the Rose Parade. First, I visited the Charisma Float Decorating Camp. It's set up near the Rose Bowl parking lot in Pasadena. Here is Joan Abbey, whose daughter now runs a float design company with her husband. And guess what? They met volunteering on floats, but it all started with Mom.
She was 8 years old when I heard on the radio that it was raining a lot and they needed volunteers. So I said, I've always wanted to do that. So I dragged my 8-year-old daughter, who was really too young, to come down here, and we started working at Charisma Floats. And she's worked on it every year until she went to the University of Cal Poly, where she then left Charisma and started working at Cal Poly for their floats. And then when she was done with that, came back here. And
found her husband, and the rest is history. And they own the company.
Right, now they own the company. You have Rose Flow clothes that I, put in a bag at the end of the year. I have paint from probably, 5 or 6 floats all over these clothes, and you don't even try to wash it out, and you keep it going. And
it's memories, from previous years.
Yes, and the thing is that either this sort of intrigues you or you don't understand it at all. And if it intrigues you, then it sort of becomes this ongoing thing of wherever you are, you look at different products. Like right now, I'm drying persimmons in my oven because we have a mushroom, and we thought about that it's going to be orange, and that would be really pretty to have the slices of persimmon on it. And I haven't even told Katie yet. I dried some with a little flower top on it, and I think that would be really cool to add that to the mushroom itself. So that's how you sort of get going on these things, and it becomes, gee, wouldn't that be nice?
In January, after this is all said and done and it's over and we have to take these things back, usually in the rain, we're starting to really hate life at the point, because it's just, things are rotting, you still have to take it all apart, and it's just starting to get a little ugly. But come back around March, we're starting to miss it. We want to come back into it. We miss the designs, we miss the color, we miss the products, we miss working with the people, and it just flows right back in from March through on. And we start getting calls from people that want to come back and decorate, and we just love doing it every single year.
So it's kind of a love-hate thing, huh?
Yes.
You guys in therapy.
Oh, yes, yeah. It's a little punishing at times, but it pays off in its reward.
That's Matt Rodriguez. And after meeting his wife, Katie, as a float decorating volunteer years ago, yes, his wife, they met doing the volunteering thing. And by the way, they had to get engaged on live TV parade coverage around New Year's Day. Well, their float design company, Charisma, is a smaller one with nonprofit clients. A huge message. Last year it was the Tuskegee Airmen. This year it's a tribute to victims and survivors of September 11th, almost 10 years ago now.
Last year was our first year owning the business, and so we had only one float. We had the West Covina Rose Float Foundation, and we were very honored to do the Tuskegee Airmen float.
That was an amazing float. That was very emotional with those guys. Those were the real Tuskegee Airmen, right? The surviving guys.
I've never seen a crowd, even in the grandstand, stand and salute to a float before. Or not to floats. Never mind the float, the guys that are on the front of the float. Never seen it before.
I bet those guys had red and watery eyes, huh? But they were so proud.
They told us that that was their first real parade. That was the first parade someone had thrown around them. And we were very happy to do it. And we had a invisible sponsor that helped out and made that float happen, along with the West Covina Rose Float Foundation, so we thank him as well.
So how do you top that? I mean, that was not only beautiful, because I remember there was an eagle and a flag and and the faces that you had of those airmen and the seeds and the emblems, right, that will go in their jackets. How do you beat that and have also the emotional impact?
Well, I don't know that anything will ever beat that for us, particularly since it was our first year as owners, and also just the story of those Tuskegee Airmen. But this year we're doing the 9/11 tribute float, and so we've looked at some of what was really successful last year with the detail and the portraits. And this year, the 9/11 tribute float will actually feature a 20-foot high mural that is an exact replica of the photograph that was taken of the firemen raising the flag at Ground Zero. And so we're going to use a lot of the same detail that we used last year into making that happen, and it's going to be also very, very emotional.
Then I'm guessing you have a lot of firemen from the LA County area and maybe even New York participating and standing on the float, or?
We do. They've selected some of the local LA County firemen are going to be on the float, as well as they're getting some of the survivors from 9/11. They also have some of the firemen that lost, the families of the firemen that lost their lives on that day, and some of the families of the flight attendants that were on the planes.
There will be a representative from the Pentagon to help tie in everybody that was affected.
This float's going to bring the house down, won't it? It's going to be an amazing, emotional one. You guys are all about making us cry, right?
I don't mind that.
There's more to share from the Charisma float building area and other float decorating places on this special look into the making of the Rose Parade floats. Up next, when does all this planning start? Who knew that these floats require insurance, kind of like a yacht? And how using water-saving, drought-tolerant plants in the garden is another part of the float messaging. I'm Cindy Dole, and we're back after this. Welcome back. I'm Cindy Dole, taking you behind the scenes for a look at the making of the Rose Parade floats. And are you wondering when all this planning begins? At Charisma, one of the smaller float design companies, like everyone else, it's a year-round thought process. I mean, they're always looking at things in the grocery store, off the freeway, in the garden as a possible float design tool, something that just might be the perfect thing that works as fur on a raccoon, or something that looks like human skin for the next character on the next float. Well, you see, the flowers have to be ordered way in advance to make sure that all works. So this means by February, the design pitch must be approved by the Termina Roses and get turned in by then. And besides the beauty and the creativity and a message that's going to be memorable, there has to be safety. And that means insurance. Here's Matt and Katie Rodriguez with Charisma Float Design.
These things essentially modified semi-trucks to bus frames, depending on the weight level of the float, but the framework itself is 14-inch I-beam, half-inch to three-quarter-inch steel. In the end, these things, after being decorated and hopefully not rained on, will be plus 20 ton, rolling down the street at 2.5 miles an hour. So there's a lot of safety involved, because there's not much that will hold these things back. And then as far as special effects, a lot of the effects have to be really controlled smokeless powders, fireworks that have a certain level of safety to them, which usually translates into minimal effects. Because with all those crowd around, there's several 100,000 people out there. You really have to be careful and not incite riots with people trying to come up to the float because the float's now ejecting something like T-shirts or candy into the crowd. There's just a lot of safety. There's a lot of people around.
A lot of protocol, right?
A lot of protocol, yes. And you'll see those little white suiters out there on their scooters zooming around, just making sure that we are safe from them because insurance is expensive.
Yeah. Do you have to get your own insurance too?
Yes, because of what we do, our insurance is generally based off of like a yacht, a large yacht. Even though it's on land, we do have boat insurance is the only insurance that will cover us.
Is there a main float insurance company that everyone goes to?
I don't really talk with the other builders on insurance levels. My insurance
you don't
man.
think about float insurance,
No, you don't think about that kind of stuff. But if my float doesn't start and then the client gets mad, I still need to get paid because those flowers cost money, the metal costs money, everything costs money. So yep, we have to buy insurance for everything, as well as the riders, because just people riding on the float. Even though you're going 2.5 miles an hour, my brakes will stop the float in less than 2 feet. So if something goes wrong really quickly, we don't want to injure anybody that's on the float. We don't want to throw anybody off, and we don't want to hit anybody on the side.
Well, that's why you see they have those little seat belts or straps for the people that stand on the floats, yeah?
Yeah, everybody has to wear a seatbelt. And we actually do 3 test drives with the tournament. They come out and we have 3 different safety inspections that we have to pass. And the last 2 are road tests. And the very last one, we have to have the actual float riders on the float so that we can practice and do an emergency stop, and we do a fire drill, and we do everything. Just, it's all about safety, as we want to make sure everything is 100% safe.
So you talk about making sure that you're paid. What is the cost of a float? I mean, you hear about it being $500,000, $1 million. I mean, it can be really expensive, millions of dollars, but you're dealing with some nonprofits. I'm guessing that the money that they bring to the table is a little bit smaller.
They do have smaller budgets, but it doesn't mean that they're a smaller purpose. They still sometimes bigger purpose. There's certain cancer societies out there. We have
Donate Life.
Donate Life is in with West Covina Rose Float Foundation. They take a lot of their proceeds, go back into local students, where they do a lot of scholarships for their local West Covina students moving out into college. So they help them transition from high school locally to farther away colleges. LA County Fire Benefit and Welfare is sponsoring this 10 years since 9/11, and that's just it's a big remembrance, so that they're trying to get that out there and help out.
Do these groups come to you, or do you have to reach out to them, or it seems like it all just kind of flows?
It's definitely a little bit of both. We really have enjoyed working with the nonprofits, and being a little bit smaller company, it's something that we can really make the budgets work well for getting the message out, and that's something we really like to do.
So what is the most expensive part of making a float? Is it the natural materials? Is it because flowers are coming in from all over the world? Is it the time, the engineers that you turn to? What?
Honestly, it really depends on the design, because if you have something that's going to go 35 feet up in the air and spin around and come back down, then obviously your engineering and your steel costs and all that are going to be a lot higher. But, some floats are more floral. So in those floats, you would have more of your budget going to the floral. So it really is dictated by the design. Well, one of the things that we're trying to do this year is we kind of went out of our way to try and buy as much local California product as possible. And so that is one big thing, is to try and, support local California farmers. And another thing, too, is we're going to be using some different grasses on West Covina that are some of the newer drought-tolerant grasses. And they're really, really pretty. And so that's something, too, that we all want to be aware of, is how much water that we're using.
I have visions of like that one float where they couldn't get the bird of paradise that year, and they go down, they just get like 20 of them, and they just put in that one corner thinking no one's going to know the difference. They're the plastic ones.
Well, around that, we have been known to harvest plants. I mean, there are some freeway on-ramps where you can get pepperberries. There are some places where you can get certain things that other people just use as ground cover. So we'll borrow them.
So one year, the folks at Charisma needed to create the look of dinosaur knees. Their solution, cantaloupe melons. The skin on the fruit nails it, don't you think? But did you know, while you can use fruit and vegetables on a float, since it's something that grows, and you can use pepper, which also grows, you can't use salt? That's because salt's a mineral. And guess where all that white on the float comes from? We've got that next on this special behind-the-scenes look at the making of the rose floats. We're going to travel to Sierra Madre, a community that has won all kinds of awards for its floats, but all of its funding comes from community breakfasts and car washes. I'm Cindy Dole. We're back after this.